In this quick video, I'd like to share some ideas on how you can use Microsoft 365 to create engagement as well as for your awareness and communication campaigns. Now the focus for this one would be an update to an employee policy. Now that's always a tricky thing, and of course there's some audits in the background that regulates those as well. But you can also use this if perhaps you're in the compliance department, so health and safety or quality or environmental type of policies, it gets updated. So what I've done is that I've used the Starbucks policy as an example. It's such a pretty looking document. I must admit, it really makes me think about those horrible, boring documents that we send out. And I've loaded this in my intranet, of course, in my policies library. There you can see the latest policy has been loaded, and of course my policies, I use metadata, so it's policies and it's for human resources, but they can also be accessed straight from the top navigation on my intranet. Now let's take a look at the page. So I've loaded the latest document, it's got all the metadata in it, and please remember to use decent naming conventions, not this garbage that I've got in there for tests. So if I load the new policy, I don't have version numbers in the name and I don't have dates in it, so that when I load a new document, maybe in a couple of months, an updated policy, it just replaces it as an electronic version. SharePoint libraries can keep up to 50,000 electronic versions in the background if you set it that way. By default, it's 500. So at any time for audit purposes, I can go back and view a previous policy uploaded at a specific date to see what it looked like. So let's go to the page. Now on this page, I want to launch a new policy, and I want to make sure that the employees understand what the changes are as well as how it impacts them. We know that in the past we sent an email out with an attachment to it, okay, which just creates thousands of copies of that policy, or maybe a link to it. Maybe you got clever, but still people wouldn't read it. Now there's definitely some compliance in the background and things that we have to, especially in these days with so many things happening in the world. Now what I did on this page is firstly I created a news page from the landing page of the intranet. Now on the landing page there's a news web part. You'll see there's my company news, and all I did is I clicked on add and I said new post. The reason why I did it from here and not as a normal page is that it will then publish to my mobile app, which I'll also show you in a moment what that looks like. So I went and created this page, I gave it a name, and because I do regular updates, I added a date to it as well, because I might have another conduct policy update in a couple of months' time. I put a web part at the top with text just to say what this is about and what we expect from the employees. Then very important, and this definitely comes from my compliance days, so I used to do a SHEC, so safety and health and environmental and quality audits, and it's important for me that I just added a text web part to say what the latest changes were, so just at a quick glance, and I also listed what the previous changes were, so maybe you might have missed those. On the page I also added a Microsoft Sway that's been set to autoplay, and I'll show you in a moment how that was added to the page. So some employees might actually just want to page through the Sway and see what the latest impact and changes were. I've also created a little video which I've loaded to Microsoft Stream to my intranet channel, where I share what the changes are and how they impact employees and how they can actually help themselves to understand this better. On this page I then shared a file viewer which points to that policy that I've uploaded. So it's not a copy of the document, it's actually just a little window into that specific document. I've also gone and created a Microsoft form, which then just says I confirm that I've read and I understand the latest changes, yes or no. So this is just for legal reasons. I have to admit, I'm very careful to create Microsoft forms for business critical type things. So if an employee had to add their ID number there or something, I definitely wouldn't use Microsoft forms. I would much rather just create a SharePoint list, and if you have Power App and Power Automate skills in the company, I would go Power App that baby and add it to the page where they can just confirm that they understand the changes and how it affects them. Then also, I've added a little text web part to say that if you have feedback, what can you do? So contact us, or why don't you just join in on the conversation on our Yammer group. So I've also added the Yammer group to the page to try and help people. So let's take a look at the page, and I'm going to put it into edit mode. Please remember that while you building the page, to just save a draft of the page until you're ready to actually launch it. When you post and publish the page, it'll start running and it'll actually show on the mobile app for consumption and on the landing page or the home page. So while you're still busy building it, rather just save a copy or a draft of it. I also prefer building all my resources before I build the page. So the form was built beforehand, the video was loaded, the sway was built, got all my content together, and I loaded my new policy on the intranet. So let's put this page into edit mode. Once it's in edit mode, so let's just take a look at the layout that I chose. So firstly, you'll see forms and Yammer normally works better for me in this vertical column that goes down because it tends to be longer than other web parts, if that makes sense. So what I did is I added a web part at the top, and you'll see that I've used that vertical section web part, which means it allows me to add a vertical column. I then went and modified this specific section as well. So if I click on edit there, I actually changed this section to have a dark background. These background colors it actually gets from the theme that's applied to your site. So because I've got a black theme, it's got gray and light gray that I can choose as well. And you'll see that I chose light gray for that one. In this specific areas, I added text web parts, and I then added the notes that I wanted to add. This is where I added the Microsoft Sway. So let's take a look at the Sway. Now this is just as an example, and this is not really to do with the policy, but it was just an example. So if I go to the Sway, here's my Sway, and under the settings on the Sway, you'll see that you can set it to autoplay. So I kind of like doing that when I add it to SharePoint. There's my sharing link as well, and for SharePoint, I'll have to get the embedded code. So once I grab that embedded code and I copy it, I can then add it to the page. So let me show you what that looked like. So if I click on add, if I search for Sway, you'll see that there is no Sway web part, but there is an embedded code web part, which means I can then go and paste that embedded code there. So that's how I get the Sway to show on the page. And remember that I set it to autoplay in the Sway itself settings. Then also to get the stream video, because some people would rather just watch a quick video that explains to them what the impact of this policy change or document change or company change is. Maybe sometimes there's big strategic objectives that's been rolled out, and this is an incredible idea as well to use for updated strategic objectives and things like mission and vision statements. So if I go to stream, there you can see there's my intranet channel, and there's the video that I've loaded. There again is the sharing option and the link that I can get to the video. Please remember, and especially for someone who talks as fast as I do, if you're not going to clean up your transcripts, switch them off, because they might be showing words that you didn't say. Transcripts are great on videos though, because it makes it searchable, that people can search for a specific word on a specific place in a video. So I would rather leave the transcripts on, but keep a couple of minutes aside to go through that transcript and clean up the text that it's picked up from your video. So that's where I get the sharing link to the video. And again, if I go to the page, I simply went and I added a web part. So let's search for stream, and there we go, there's stream. And then it's not all of stream, it's definitely not a channel, but it's a single video, and there's the video that I'm pasting. You can even set it to start at a specific time in the video if people start viewing the page. So I'm going to just remove that web part as well. Now this web part that you see here is actually called in call to action. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I search for call to action, you'll see there. And I like call to actions because they stand out quite well. So if I click on the edit web part there, you'll see that there's the button label. So that was that little contact us. There's the background image I can use, and there's the URL. So maybe you have an anonymous hotline that people can contact. So I added it on the page because I thought that would make sense in this specific scenario. And then once the web part's added, you can actually add the text on this little black button as well. And you can also set the alignment, must it be centered or right aligned. So that's a pretty cool web part to use as well, because it just catches the eye and it helps people very quickly be able to reach out if they might want to log a little request or a call. Then at the bottom of the page, I added the file viewer, and that's actually right up there. Now remember, I loaded the latest policy already, so in my recent documents I can just select it and display it. But if not, you can navigate through the site to the specific library where the document is. So in my case, I always have my policies and procedures and something called the Info Hub, and in the Info Hub I can then go and select the document that I want to display on the page. it might be easier to just search it by changing your modified filter. So let's just go newer to older, and I can then select the document and say that's the document I want to share. If it doesn't show, and there we go, if it doesn't show under your recent items, but if it was just updated, it's quite easy to grab it from there and just add the document. File viewer works great, well, works better for landscape type documents because of the size that it displays in. So if you want to add a PowerPoint there, because you can, I would rather use a landscape than a portrait type. But it definitely is a great way to allow the employee to actually read the document right there on the page without having to navigate away. I always switch my comments off on pages as well, because I definitely don't have time to search for the comments here. I would much rather monitor my Yammer groups or even the Microsoft form that people are filled in. Let's just take a quick look at the page as well. So if I look at the banner at the top, that's where I can add the image for the banner, and this is also where I can set the focus area. So I could move this up and down depending on what area I want to show. And then also, again, if I look at this web part, this is where I change what I want the background color to be. And this is also where I change that there should be 2 columns. So when I added this section, I actually said that I want this to be a 2-section column. And then at the bottom of the page, I changed this into a 1-section column again, because the document's quite big. Again, remember that I use the vertical column on the right-hand side. I hope that that helps you a lot. So let's just update this news, and I'll also just show you what it looks like on the mobile. I absolutely love the news pages on SharePoint, and it's a much better way to actually communicate with your employees. The last thing that I do want to show you is that you can promote this page as well. If you're still in a culture where most important announcements goes out via email, I would definitely still do it until you've changed that culture. So you can see that you've got an email button there. So for now, I'm going to actually just send this to myself. So I'll send that to myself, and then I will reformat that a little bit and send it out from the, I don't know, HR communications channel in my Outlook, etc. But it will not send the physical page. It's going to send a little synopsis to them. And here you can see what that will be looking like. I hope that this has helped you a lot. I know that I speak very fast in my videos. So in the beginning of the video, I shared some tips on how you can slow this down in YouTube, of course. So I'll show you how you can slow this down in YouTube, because there's no way that you can slow me down, but thankfully we can slow YouTube down. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope that it helps you to just achieve more with Microsoft 365. Have a wonderful day.